energetic, passionate, and savvy. Gouche Live, brought to you by the good people at the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Gouche.
Hey, it's Gouche Live right here at the bottom line. A stone throw, no, a slap shot away from the Hockey Hall of Fame. And just down the road, those guys named the Toronto Maple Leafs play hockey. And I'll tell you what, there's been a trade all day going on with the free agency. And of course, the Toronto Maple Leafs have solved their goaltending. Or have they? Matt Murray, of course, and Samsonov coming from Washington. I'm not sure if that's the answer. We will find out. But unbelievable stuff going on today. I'll tell you what, Matt Pacioretty from the Las Vegas Golden Knights has left the Knights. You know where he's gone? Carolina Hurricanes with my good buddy, Brent Burns, Stanley Cup. I'm going to say the Carolina Hurricanes 2023 Stanley Cup champions. And I'm with a champion. His name is Rob Pallante, and he is from Mindset Body Bank. Robbie, what's going on?
Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you.
It's a pleasure.
You know, it's crazy. It's been really nuts. Obviously, all the things that I'm doing, I'm wearing 2 hats tonight at the bottom line. You saw Willie Collins.
I saw Cal's as
He's
usual.
behind the bar.
He's behind the bar. He's sweating more than he did behind the mask.
Now, is he drinking or is he actually
No,
serving?
he's actually serving.
Yeah. Or at least cleaning up glasses.
That's it.
Listen, I wanted you in tonight. I had an opportunity earlier to talk with Dan Blackburn, you know very well with NTC Hockey. And you, of course, with your great organization, Mindset Body Bank. I want to put the website up right away so people can get to know who you are. Take a peek, mindsetbodybank.com. Before we get into what you do and why I wanted you and Dan to talk tonight, it's more about we'll talk a little bit about the NHL, the draft, and of course, what some of these teams are doing. One of the things, I was in Montreal for the draft, and it was my first really close encounter of it all, watching the agents behind the scenes, talking to the general managers, seeing it come live in front of my face. And I was thinking, when Slafkovsky was called as first overall, and Shane Wright was dropped to number 4, I was just thinking, what does that mean to the players? Slafkovsky probably not thinking he's going first overall. Shane Wright with the stare that we'll remember forever. Whether you like it or you don't, I'll tell you what, he showed a little bit of guts and vigor there.
Calling out Montreal.
You got it. Talk to me a little bit about the mindset of a player that's getting ready to go into a draft. They're obviously expecting one thing, and it either turns out really good or it turns south a little bit. I would say Shane Wright going fourth overall.
Look, you and I would have been pretty happy to get called and have hear our names get called.
Wayne Kelly had
In
57 minutes in the National Hockey League. I got 0.
There you go. I got 0. I got an exhibition game, but that doesn't count.
All right. Talk to me about that mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got these young kids that are lining up for the draft. There's all these expectations on them. You got a guy like Shane Wright for most of his career has been pegged as the number 1 pick. Shortly before the draft now, he's being compared to this Slafkovsky kid. I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, but I'm over 50, so I'm allowed to. Slafkovsky.
I'm bad with Russians.
Us and Cherry. So you know, the 2 of them are ping pong. All of a sudden, Shane drops down to number 4. There's this expectation. He's so focused on the outcome that he's forgot the journey, right? Here's a guy going from 1 to 4. Really, what's the difference? At the end of the day, he's still got to step on the ice and he's still got to perform. There's some expectations. He gives Montreal the stare down. I get it. He's showing them up a little bit. Maybe he felt they showed him up. Maybe there were some discussions. You can't bank on those kind of discussions. You've got to take things as they come. You've got to be able to show a little bit of grit and resilience in those situations, just like you would in a game, right? You get a turnover, mistakes happen. How do you respond and how do you rebound?
Absolutely.
So what happens next? TBD, still number 4, and he's got an opportunity with a team that's up and coming.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've got a live studio audience here tonight at Gouche Live. The place is absolutely rocking. When you're here for a Leafs night, you can't even move in the place, so we're honored to be here. Brought to you by the good people of the Hockey News, and of course the bottom line, Wayne Kelly. I like what you just said. You know, adversity shows character. Character will be able to rise above. You could either, bend over and get into a fetal position, or you rise to the occasion. I think Shane Wright is going to rise to the occasion. And somebody said to me, "Oh my God, he dropped the 4th." No, you got to think about it. When the scouts are out there talking to all of their teams, they're going for what they need. Shane Wright is as good as any player in the draft. He could have gone second. He could have gone third. The New Jersey Devils had their mindset. That's the player in Nemec that they needed. They wanted him. They'd already decided upon. Even though Shane Wright was available, they knew that's who they wanted. Arizona Coyotes knew they wanted Calder at Kohler. And the reason is they wanted an American and they wanted a dynamic defenseman, and that's what they got. So dropping to fourth, I think, is very good for Shane Wright. Why is that? Because the pressure that's going to be in Montreal. Montreal has not rebuilt, not retooled. They made statements. They're going to be a contender for the playoffs. And it gives Shane Wright a little bit of time in Seattle to grow with that team because they are going to grow. Love to hear your thoughts on that.
Look, Coach, I think you just nailed it right on the head here. Two toughest places to play in the NHL, Toronto and Montreal. A lot of pressure.
Yeah.
You come into either one of these cities, you've got to be ready to take a little bit of criticism. And after what Shane's gone through, I agree with you 100%. Seattle's going to be a market where he can go in, he can develop, he's got time to prove. What this should do to Shane, if he's going in with the right mindset, is light a little fire under his ass.
Absolutely.
Right? If he does that and he comes out and he buys into the system there and he plays his game and he lets go of the fact that he wasn't number one overall, that Montreal didn't take him, and he focuses on what do I need to do next, I think he'll be successful.
Well, I think also it's really important for Shane Wright is exactly that, and not focus on what happened, but what's forward. We always think about what we don't have. Let's think about what we need, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Obviously, there are teams that we are very close to. The Ottawa Senators, getting Claude Giroux, getting Cam Talbot, already having the Stützles and Norris and Batherson, and a young captain in Kachuk. That team is not rebuilding anymore either. It is ready to compete. Montreal, we already know that with Martin St. Louis. I think they have a lot of Shane Wrights on Montreal. Getting that big lanky forward that they needed with Slavkovsky, I think it's a really good move. And they saw that he can play with men now, and that was important. So we also have to look at what Detroit Red Wings have done. Obviously, with Husso, Perron, and they also just signed Ben Sherratt. This team is built for the future. Buffalo has done an amazing job in the free agency and the draft. I've got to come to the Toronto Maple Leafs. I know you're a fan. I want to hear what your thoughts are. They let Jack Campbell go to the Edmonton Oilers, $5 million a year. They signed Matt Murray, who's won 2 Stanley Cups. Jack Campbell yet has proven he hasn't been able to win. Matt Murray has, but there's injuries and confidence issues. And then they go out and sign Samsonov, which I think is a better deal than the Matt Murray story. And the reason is he's only 1.8 and he's 1 year. You as a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, are you comfortable where the Leafs sit right now?
Look, I'd love to see the Leafs go on a tear. They've got so much depth there. They are a little bit closer to what's going on than I am. I'm a fan just like everybody else. I watch, I've got my opinions. How I feel about Murray and how I feel about Campbell really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we've got professionals behind the jerseys in the office that are doing the assessments, that are, as you said earlier, that are making the right choices for what they believe are going to move the team. Murray, God bless him. I wish him well in the locker room. I'd love to see him make a run at the cup.
Rob Pallante playing the political side here because he wants to go to a Leafs team and not maybe get called out by Kyle Dubas. I really believe this is Kyle Dubas' last shot. I believe that him picking Matt Murray as his shooter. I'm not saying anything negative against Matt Murray. He's obviously got pedigree. He's won 2 Stanley Cups. He has some injury problems that we don't know. He's been soft when it comes to that. He's still a winner. And so it is going to depend what Matt Murray they get, and that's going to obviously help you. I wanted to ask you this question. Nobody can say that Jack Campbell was a problem in Toronto. When you get to a Game 7, and you've got players like Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, who are Matthews, MVP, 60 goals, you played on a lot of teams. It's not about how many goals you score, it's when you score them. In Game 7, those 2 guys were ineffective to score the winning goal or tying goal and win it. Jack Campbell played very well.
Very well.
What do you see for the Toronto Maple Leafs? We'll stay on this topic for a second. What they need to do to raise the level of an Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, not through the regular season. They have proven they are amazing when it comes to that. But you know, and I know, it's a little bit different when the ice gets smaller and the focus goes on you and everybody's kind of doing it. They need to learn more under the level. What are your comments on that?
Well, I think on that note, there, Gouche, what you're talking about is consistency. I think the Leafs now have had a bit of some success, a little bit of success in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay, these young guys have started to cut their teeth. Maybe they haven't had the success that the city wants them to have, or that true Leaf fans want them to have. But all that experience starts to add up. And I look at it this way: it's all these small, little simple things that we do over a period of time start to add up to a bigger success. Now you bring in a guy like Murray. Hopefully they buy in to Murray being the lead goaltender, being the guy that's going to carry them there. You've got, like you said, the guys, the scoring power through the regular season. They now have to take that and carry that into the playoffs. It's a different game. They got to be able to play with a monkey on their back. They got to be able to play under that kind of pressure. They got to be able to show more consistency in the playoffs in those times when it's needed most. That's what champions do. They find that extra gear. They don't let their past failures creep into the future, and they play in the now.
Talking about champions, if you know anything about Rob Pallante and what his trials and tribulations in life are, this is a true inspiration and most importantly, a quality individual that's helping the mindset of our youth to grow and develop into great hockey players. I just want to end with the Austin Matthews stories a little bit. All you Toronto Maple Leaf fans, everybody's picking him as a superstar. I'm not going to give him that yet. I'm going to wait. A superstar to me is somebody that has won at a high level, produced as well as he has,
Consistent.
and consistent. And I'm hoping, and I would, for all you Leaf fans, let's celebrate the moment. The moment is you have a 60-goal scorer, you have an MVP player, and a Rocket Richard, and of course, he had another trophy. God, it skipped my mind, but I'll tell you what, it's the players' Masterson.
Masterson.
I don't know. I'll get back. Hey, we're supposed to be the experts, and we forget. It must be the H factor.
It is.
All right,
Absolutely.
let's get into Robert Pallante and what we're doing for sport and our youth today. I brought you in today because I wanted to speak to you about, obviously, the mindset that actually goes along with your the name of your company called Mindset Body Bank. I wanted to talk to you about, as the summer approaches, we've had 2.5 years of absolutely insanity. From a young player's perspective and older player's perspective, and even guys my age, my life has been turned upside down. These players now have to get ready in the summer to go to camp, whether it be a AAA camp, whether it be a AA camp, whether it be for the AHL, the East Coast League, or they're preparing for a National Hockey League training camp. What do they need to do right now? As far, and it could be one of the ladies getting ready for Team Canada. What do they need to do to prepare themselves over this summer with the mental aspect of it? Physically, we all know they're going to do it.
Sure.
What do they need to do mentally?
Gouche, I think you hit on it earlier. You said a word. It's called process. You have to follow the process. The off season is a time where we take the output, the outcomes, what we want, and we put them aside. They should be about 10 to 20% of our focus. What you do every day, and I have a term with my players, I call it master the mundane. Create a checklist of successes that you're going to go through from the time you wake up, what time you eat. Create positive routines. Stick to training. Focus on the moment and what you have to do. Get through your day and make a deposit into yourself. Every single day that you can add a deposit into your mental self as well as the physical self, you're starting to stack wins. You do that every day through the summer and for your off season. Come time for training camp, all you have to do is go in and focus on the moment. Focus on the moment, and the outcome will take care of itself.
I'll tell you what, those are cryptic words coming from a guy that knows what he's talking about. You and Dan Blackburn, when I get around you guys, you ooze confidence, you ooze positivity, and that's what's really important. And I love that about it. Seize the moment. Make your best your best. Don't worry about all the surroundings. You can only control what you can control, and certainly you can control your mind through this. So we know that through your life, you have gone through some trials and tribulations, and you've risen above. I mentioned earlier that you can end up just going into the fetal position and giving up, or you can rise to the occasion, which you've done. Kids, men and women, boys and girls, along with their entourage or their surrounding. How do you get the surrounding to understand what these young boys and girls, men and women, need to do to prepare for the upcoming September?
That's a loaded question.
I know, I love
It's
it.
a loaded question,
And
right?
I loaded it for you because I know you can answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at if you have a look at statistics right now, most kids are dropping out of sports between 14 and 15 years old. The number one cause, parents and coaches. Okay, so as a parent and a coach, we have to find better ways to communicate. We got to be more supportive. We have to reconsider that conversation on the car ride home. For these kids, they're still developing. Their minds are developing. The frontal cortex isn't fully developed. You don't have the ability to fully understand and reason and rationalize. So they're going to be looking at failures, and they're going to be projecting themselves into the future. What if I do this? What if I fail? What if I drop the puck? What if I, make a mistake? We've got to be able to let them function in the now. So as I was talking about earlier, be constructive, be supportive with them. Let those conversations flow naturally from the child. They pretty much know when they're doing something wrong. They don't have to be told. Let the coaches coach, and as parents, cheer them on and be supportive and positive.
When I was talking to Dan, he kind of brought up, and I think he'll be very similar in the thought and the mindset here. Sometimes parents overguard and overprotect and want to solve the problems for these kids, these young men and women that are coming up. We need them to learn adversity. You have to fail. Gretzky said it best. I think you'll maybe remember, well, you're not going up, but Gretzky said it when they were playing in Islanders and they passed the dressing room. I remember Butch Gordon being the dressing room. Gretzky team. It was Glenn Anderson that told me the story when I met him in Moscow at an event. He said, Gouche, what we learned walking by that dressing room was more than getting beat by the Islanders. We looked in the dressing room and they were partying. They were putting ice packs all over their bodies and just trying to recoup. They weren't dancing, they weren't celebrating. They learned that you gotta pay the price and not go beyond the thought of today. You have to make sure that you do those really small building blocks to be successful. That's what the Islanders did. And then, of course, Gretzky and the boys learned that lesson, and we all know what they did afterwards.
Look, as I said it before, through adversity, we find opportunity. Fail often, fail forward, fail fast. You can look at failure one of two ways. It's either failing, where you fall into the fetal position, or it's a learning experience. Somebody with a strong mindset will look at a failure and they'll say three things. What have I done well? What can I do better? And how can I do it? Ask yourself those three little words. Well, better, and how. Through every experience, and you will find a roadmap that'll help you lead you to success.
You know what's important about that? It's not just about playing sport or playing hockey. It's about life and being able to ask yourself that, maybe not on a daily basis because you don't even get into a routine. Maybe do inventory every month. Just look at yourself. What did I do this month? What did I do good? What did I do right? And then follow those three components. All right, so now we've got a young boy or young girl getting ready to go into a camp. The parents are really pushing them. You got to go. You got to be your best. And let's say it doesn't go as well. And let's say they don't make that team because of the fact that maybe they weren't prepared. Maybe the pressure was too much. Maybe the pressure from behind was too much. Maybe they themselves didn't do what you just said, those three intricate parts. They get released from the team. What do they do next?
Well, this is the great thing. How you respond to failure really dictates the outcome. Okay, I use a little acronym. E plus R equals O. Event plus response equals outcome. Okay, all we can control is ourselves and our responses. If we take a moment and we don't reflect back on the negative, we look at it, like I said, as a learning experience, then we can say, okay, maybe I didn't show up prepared, so I got to be more prepared next time. What's the next best thing I can do? Where's the next best opportunity, and how do I prepare for that? Whether that's in the moment on a shift, or in the case of a young individual, guy, girl, player who didn't make the team, they're going to say, what are my next options? And how do I go out and not fail again, and take the experiences from the failure and move those forward?
All right, so now obviously throughout your life, you've been able to put all of this together and you put it into a great website, and you're very well spoken, very articulate, down to obviously layman's terms so all of us can understand. What is the mindset body bank? How did you get into it? Why did you? Where are you seeing this in the future?
Yeah, that's I can give you the long drawn out version, but we don't have that much time.
Cole's
The
notes.
Cole's notes version.
That's how I got
Listen,
to school.
you got me a camera and a microphone, so I'm going to talk. Listen, so the Cole's notes version was my career was supposed to take off and take me to the NHL. Hadn't really incurred a whole lot of adversity until I got to the college level, and then I did, and I wasn't prepared mentally to deal with it. I moved forward. I had a cup of tea. I got to play a little bit of pro. I left hockey and I got into the corporate world, and I focused all my efforts on making money and material things. I had a tragic accident happen. Well, not so tragic because I'm still here, but a potentially life-threatening accident where I was in a motorcycle accident, given my last rites, and I spent 40 days on my back, 8 surgeries. The turning point for me was looking back now. That accident to me was an opportunity to reclaim my life.
Not everybody does that.
No, they don't. But it was something that stuck in my head. After I got out of the ICU, a nurse came to me and she said, most people in your situation will have survived. You've been given a second chance at life, don't waste it. And you know what that meant? Over the 2 years of my recovery to build myself back up, it started to dawn on me that what I was meant to be was not a hockey player, but to be of service and take my experiences and give back to the community and be a servant leader. So now my role and my goal is to help as many young athletes as I can to be that voice in their ear, the person to talk to that I didn't have when I was going through those things. I stepped on a lot of mines in the minefield when I was going through my career. If I can help some kid get through that and get to the next level, forget sports, but create a foundation for their life, because we both know sports is very short-lived.
Yes, it
And you
is.
said it earlier, these are experiences for life. These are tools and skills for life. We're focusing on sports right now, but essentially these are experiences and tools that these kids can take after sports. That is my goal.
And we are talking to the best, Rob Pallante. Listen, obviously, in life there are trials and tribulations and adversity. How can you get somebody that maybe doesn't have the self-confidence? How do you build that up so they can rise to these occasions that we're talking about? Some of us are built leaders. Some of us are built followers. And when you get into adverse moments, you don't know how to react. You're looking either for sympathy, you're looking to say, all right, I'm better than this, I can do it, but you may not been given the tools to do it. Give us a couple of examples for somebody that maybe is watching this, that maybe is a little bit timid, maybe not have that kind of opportunity to have that personality or the ability to rise above. What are some tools they can look at, not only on your website, but throughout life?
That's a great question. I personally believe that, innately or not, we all have the ability for greatness. Okay, and I think just by creating a simple routine, it starts out with wins, and it could be wake up in the morning at the same time, get out of bed, make your bed, have a cup of coffee, move your body for 20 minutes. All of those things, if you put them down in a success checklist and just check the boxes, all of a sudden, by noon, you've got all these wins. And you can look in the mirror and say, oh, look what I've accomplished so far. As small as they are, we stack all those little wins over a period of time. Now they start to add up. You do that day in and day out, now you're starting to build confidence. Now you get into a situation where it might be adverse, and you can say, well, wait a minute, I'm not a loser. This might just be a case where I've got a bunch of wins. What am I learning? It's about how we can tweak our mindset so that we're not looking at the opportunity as adversity, or the event as adversity, but more as an opportunity, as we've been talking about.
All right, Rob, as I let you go, I want to ask you this question. Where you are today and where you were at an 18-year-old getting ready to play, what do you say to yourself? What advice could you give that Robert Pallante at 17, 18, as you got that key in Canada and you're just ready to go? What do you say to him?
It's a great question. I love that question. You know what? I just got shivers thinking about it because I put myself right back into that situation.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, I'd say to myself, go out and have fun. Don't worry about making mistakes. Everybody's going to make them. If you enjoy the game and this is what you want to do, then you'll give it your best. Don't worry about the last shift or the next shift. Focus on the next 30 to 45 seconds. Go out there and just enjoy the moment. And I think we put so much pressure on ourselves, we forget to have fun. This is a game. Go have fun.
Enjoy the moment you mentioned. Enjoy the journey. And one of the things is, for all adults in the future, you too, enjoy the moment. Enjoy the journey. It could be gone tomorrow. It could be finished tomorrow. An injury takes you out. A life-changing experience can happen. Exactly like that. On a motorcycle, thank God you're with us. But it's really important. All of us take time out, take inventory today. If the COVID situation has done nothing other than giving us the opportunity to look at ourselves, look at our surroundings, and be able to get ready. Because I'll tell you what, when this COVID stuff is gone, we're going to be rocking it.
Absolutely. Great final words, my friend.
Rob Pallante, you are amazing. I love it. Thank you for sharing that with us. Rob Pallante, don't forget to check it out. Right here, we're going to put up the website. Really important. Make sure you go and take a look at www.mindsetbodybank.com. How about MSBB?
We're going to try to shorten it.
Hey, listen, I'll tell you what, I'm really bad at Russian names.
Yeah.
That one's got me tongue-tied. All right, Rob Pallante. Hey, listen, I got great people in my life. He's one of them. And I had an opportunity to sit down and talk to our good buddy, Dan Blackburn, ntchockey.com. Here he is. Listen, compare the notes. They are spot on, both of them. They know their stuff.
Energetic, passionate, and savvy. Gouche Live. Brought to you by the good people at the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Gouche.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Listen, I've got an extra special guest. It is free agency day. And you know what? I've got a guy that I want to talk to about how do you prepare an athlete over the summer, whether it's for the NHL, AHL, East Coast League, or just for AAA hockey. How do people like Dan Blackburn from NTC prepare their athletes to get ready over the summer and then get ready for training camp? And there's nobody better than Dan to tell us that. Here he is from NTC Hockey. Dan, what's going on?
What's up, Gouche? Faithful Gouche Live listeners, what's happening?
Hey, listen, I know we've been complaining about our airlines. You know, a lot of people are delayed or canceling flights, can't find baggage. I just went through that whole thing in Montreal. And, of course, Rogers throws us another curveball. Can you believe, and he's talked about how our infrastructure is, hour and 20 minutes to get from Richmond, to be on the show at 11. It's 11:20. So, again, it's partly my fault because I should plan better, my wife says. Well, honestly, how do you plan better when you don't know if it's going to be an hour and 20 or 35, which it should be in the north? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Look, you're coming from a part of the city into downtown core. I live out in the suburbia where they're doing construction and building LRT and all these different, again, which I guess is going to support the infrastructure. But holy cow, man, it's like traffic delay after traffic delay. And like you said, I mean, do you leave 2 hours early or do you leave, 20 minutes early? Like it's tough to judge.
Well, and you're a very disciplined guy. I'm a little bit more erratic, all over the place, spontaneous. I don't want to say unorganized. I'm unorganized, organized. I was set down. There's such a word. And my wife is very black and white. There's a system, whereas I need the chaos just to be able to get my juices going. And it's obviously different. You're obviously at your facility right now. You have a plan. All right, I'm going to be here at 9 o'clock. I've got guys at 9 o'clock, and this is what I got. This is my day. I would assume from how I know you, that's you. Whereas I get here and it's a little bit of panic situation, but that's what brings my juices out. And not everybody can work like me, and certainly not everybody can work like you. So that's why it's really good when you have the mesh, and that's why I'm blessed to have Tony. I wanted to get into the psyche today. I was in Montreal. Everybody was hyped up, and we'll talk about that because I know you're a Montreal Canadian fan. I was all psyched up being in Montreal with the fact that I even made the statement a half an hour before we went to the draft that Wright was going to sign in Montreal. I was so determined. And what I didn't do is pick up a statement that happened about 3 hours before at a conference. It was called Hockey of Tomorrow. And Frank did a big speech, really well spoken. At the end of his speech, he said, or his discussion point, he said, "Don't put money on Wright for the Montreal Canadiens," and that was it. It kind of just went over everybody's. And you know what? When Montreal chose Slafkovsky, it then clicked in. He knew more. I would have loved a ton of money. So, talk to me about your thoughts on that, because I think it was a curveball. I understand why they did it. It makes a lot of sense. And then him dropping down to fourth. I want to get your thoughts on how that psyche for Wright's going to be.
Yeah, I think that look, it's in those worlds of, I think if you take the outliers out, I think Connor Bedard next year is going to be one, but the Connor McDavids, the Austin Matthews, I mean, you're going to have those slam dunks. Those guys are going to be so far ahead of the pack. It's just absolutely obvious. But then you're going to get guys like, I look back, Taylor Hall and Tyler Seguin.
Yes.
And it was like neck, who's going first, who's going second. We had that conversation all along. And there were other great players in that draft. Jeff Skinner. I mean, Sagan and Skinner were guys that we were working with. And so, I think that Saravelli's comment is good. Is don't put all your money on someone unless it's an absolute guarantee slam dunk where the gap between the prospective first and the rest is so monumental. You never know what's going to happen. And and here we are talking about it. Let's circle back in 48 months and see who won the draft, right? Because we know there's going to be a second, a third, maybe a seventh round pick that is going to, the Henrik Zetterbergs of the world, that's going to quote unquote come out of nowhere and set the hockey world on fire. And so and then we can go down the path like Alexander Day when he got drafted to Ottawa. There's been a lot of busts. And
Yankopov in Edmonton.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look back at Montreal. I mean, they did a great. They've drafted a lot of incredible people, but they've also drafted some duds. And so,
one of those duds I need you to say the dud. I played against his brother in Unna, Germany, with the last name.
Yeah, Wickenheiser.
You got it, buddy. That's one. So now I want to ask you. I played against his brother, who was a very good player. I wanted to ask you this question. Then, Wright obviously dropped down to fourth. Is that a big surprise? And someone would say, "Well, yeah, the kid's got to be absolutely crushed." And I think everybody has to look at this, that New Jersey had their guy locked in. Arizona was so over the top to get the opportunity for Cooley that when a lot of them thought, okay, first overall is going to be Wright. Nobody's really thinking Slafkovsky would go in that early. So they thought, okay, we're locked in. We've talked to all our agents, our scouts. This is the guy we want for our particular needs right now. And when Slafkovsky was announced, some people thought, okay, well, New Jersey's going to take right away. And we knew that wasn't the case. What does that do to Wright? Is he sitting there thinking, God, I'm a disappointment? Or I'll tell you what, I think Seattle gives him a much better opportunity Montreal at this for his particular situation right now. I think they've got
look, and I'll just talk specifically about Wright, but anybody that's watching, whether you're a parent or a coach or a player, if you're a parent or a coach, share this, because look, every player is going to have those moments, multiple moments where you thought A and then, B, C, D, E happened. And I think that, we also have to give credence to things are going to unfold the way they unfold. And all we can do, I teach our players all the time. There's the system, which are all the things out of your control. And then there is your process. And so for me, if I was counseling Shane Wright, I'd say, listen, you thought this, but something else happened. But that doesn't change your process. How you're going to train this summer, how you're going to prepare mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, so you can be your best to go to training camp, to make a team, to make an impact on a team, to bring your best to the table. That's not going to change. You're going to wear a big S on your jersey instead of a C. But that's just where you're going to go. And I think that, there's countless other players that didn't get drafted. Marty St. Louis said it incredibly well at the kickoff of the draft. He said, look, some of you are not going to get drafted. And if you are not drafted, or if you don't go where you thought you'd go, this is literally just a moment in time. What happens after, that's what's in your control. And so I would tell Shane, the players that are watching, the players that didn't make the single A, the double A, the triple A team, the NHL team, is that simply a moment in time. The question is, where do I go from here, and what do I do so that I can maximize or give myself the best opportunity to show up to the rink and play this game the way I love to, and trust that good things are going to happen.
That's why I've got Dan Blackburn on. You always say it so eloquently and so understandably, and to layman's terms, guys like myself, getting the grade 12 by past grade 6 twice. Hey, listen, talk to me a little bit now about the psyche of a player he's going to get to what I mentioned earlier. He's going to his first camp. So during the summer, regardless what the camp is, or the girl, whether it's for Team Canada or whether it's for just a junior team or a triple A team, or even going out to double A. And then obviously the guys that are going into the pro leagues. The preparation has to be basically the same, I would think. And then getting that psyche ready to go into that camp, wherever it be. Walk us through that process, please.
Yeah, look, I started training hockey players in 1998. So this is our 25th year. And back then, very few people were trained. Very few players were training in the off ice. We weren't talking mental and emotional health at all. It was just on the ice skating. So I'm grateful that we've come so far. And so to all the players that we work with here at NTC Hockey, or anybody that's out there watching, the most important part is that you are dialed into a program and a process that is right for you. Training a certain way because you got a teammate who's maybe the same height or same age or same gender doesn't necessarily mean it's right for you. And so the training has evolved so much that it's now like the tiny details that are separating player A from player B. And so if you're going to a training camp, or maybe you're on a team, and for a new team, or you're on an existing team and there's new players coming in, you want to make sure that what you are doing is aligned and is specific for you, whether that's mental, physical, emotional, that you are your best self. And that's tough for players sometimes, because we want to be in a pack. We want to be with our brothers, our sisters. We want to just be, doing what they're doing. But it's really important that we encourage our players to have the discipline to get granular on what you need to work on. Like, hey, I got to get faster. Well, is that speed or is that acceleration? Is it more on your left side? Is it your right side? Is it more a neurological thing? Like, are you slow to react? Like, you might have the same explosive power as the player beside you, but maybe your processing skills, muscle into the body movement, is slower than the guy beside you. It might be 2/10 of a second. And it's all of those decision-making processes over the course of a shift in a game make a huge difference. So get really clear on what you need to work on for you, and then go all in on that. And you'll show up to camp and you'll be the best version of you.
All right, so now they show up at camp. They've never maybe experienced it at that level before. What do you say to a player that's getting into a situation where maybe doesn't know a lot of the players? You've maybe just met the coach in maybe some of the pre-discussion meetings before either the draft or the signing. What do you say to that player and not the parents specifically, but the people around him, how you get him or her prepared for that moment?
There's three simple things, Gouche. We call it the next level principle. Number one is get really honest and clear with yourself before you go to camp. We call it acceptance. Accept all of you. Like, you have skills and abilities that are unique to you. They are superpowers. You also have skills and abilities that you need to work on. So get really intimate, really connected and clear on what you are really good at and what you need to work on. And then when you show up to these camps, we call participation is the next level. Show up with everything you got. Like, I say to guys all the time and girls, when you go to a camp, if you're not going to make a team, or you don't get the roster spot you thought you would, that's going to happen. But please make sure that happens on your watch. You never want to leave a camp thinking, oh, I didn't make a spot, but it's because I didn't do this, because I was holding back, because I was worried about this, because I thought that, like, we've got to move past that. So show up with all of your greatness, all of your uniqueness, and try, be that player that you can be. Use the creativity, your work ethic, go first in line, do all of the things that show up, that people recognize. They see you in the room, they see you on the ice. And then the last thing is contribution. Number one, contribute to yourself. Number two, be aware of what's going on the ice. If you see a player that's struggling, he's missed 4, 5, 6 passes in a row, and you happen to be standing in line beside him, give him or her a tap on the pad and say, dude, don't worry about it. Even if that player is fighting for the same position you're fighting for, and you think if they do poorly, that gives you an advantage, don't be that guy. You never want to be the guy that gets through the door because everybody else around you wasn't very good. So encourage those people, contribute, tap that guy or girl on the shin pads and be like, yo, dude, you got this. If you're a goaltender and you're switching off the goalies, take a minute before you go in the net and let the other goalie know you're there. Like, hey, man, you're doing great, man. The 2 or 3 saves you made were incredible. Like, be that encouraging voice and presence that you need for yourself. And when you do those 3 things, we call it the triangle, the acceptance, the participation, the contribution, you bring all of you to the table. We call it about you own your greatness and you share it with the world. Everything always works out in your favor when you live from those 3 principles.
I get pumped up just sitting here listening to you. So I can tell you 2 things on that. One, I did get cut once in my life. Andy Murray was the gentleman that gave me the news. Outside of that, my Winnipeg Jets thing where I was going to be. But I was absolutely devastated. But I had an excuse. I had stretched my knee ligament before camp, so he let me down easy. We knew that because it was for school, for University of Manitoba, and I would have got my education. And secondly, I think when you talk about that, being that guy, being positive, that's so important, because that guy or girl sitting on the bench, if you're upbeat and you're positive and you know your environment and there are people around you that are maybe struggling, you building them up helps you in the long term. And I can only say that because I remember when I was first in Germany, learning experiences, that everybody was gunning for the influence, the 2, whether it's a Russian, a Canadian, American, and they were all coming at us at all different angles, bashing us and crashing us. And we could have all got down on that, but we realized they were doing that for a purpose. They were doing it not only to try and put us out of the game, but also to test us, so we could either rise to the occasion or fall down. And I think that's what's really important. You keep a positive attitude, which you've mentioned, Dan, and you certainly can go a far way. All right, I want to just dig into what NTC is doing right now. I've heard you in the background. There's kids, players obviously in the background getting ready. What's a standard day for Dan Blackburn at NTC?
Yeah, good question. I mean, we're so proud of all the athletes we have. It's interesting as you talk about players that are, going to camps. We have lots of players that didn't get drafted. This last year was the 06 draft. We have players, qualified, amazing, incredible athletes that didn't get picked. And so our counsel to them, the training regime we have them on is the same, whether they didn't get picked or not. And so a typical day for us, we're here at 9 a.m. We've got athletes that show up that are dedicated, committed to doing the work. We push them through the paces. Every player that we have, we test them, we monitor them every day, and we build individualized programs for them. They have their program on their app. We're constantly upgrading. We're asking to track their calories, their sleep quality, their energy levels. I mean, all of the things, their stressors. We want to know the details of the athlete, not just how strong is he or she. We want to know how is their body reacting to the workload, to the stresses, to life, to the challenges, to the struggles, to the celebrations that they're going through. So we're constantly tracking that. We have a great data scientist on board who's, every Monday he pulls all the data down, and we're literally making changes to athletes' programs based on the data that they've entered in that we look at over the course of a week. And then, as a business owner, I'm constantly evolving and growing. So we're working on some real exciting things that we're going to roll out in the next, some in the next few weeks, some in the next couple of months. And then in the afternoon, we've got a steady stream of athletes again. We've got a skating treadmill here, which we use religiously and help. Since 2005, I think we've had 4 Stanley Cup champions on that, on the skating treadmill, and we help players with the important mechanics of skating, the stride, the extension, recovery, glide phases that you just cannot teach on the ice. And so we use that, and we have athletes as young as 4, and we've got high-level aspiring OHL and NHL players here that are either knocking on the door or soon to be knocking on the door of those next levels.
Now I'm going to add the website to this, of course. Where can they come and find out more about NTC?
Yeah, ntchockey.com or on Instagram or TikTok, both at NTC Hockey.
Listen, Dan Blackburn, thank you so much for always being there for us. I always sometimes mix up the two personalities. I really apologize. I can't thank you enough. Listen, I was at one of your showcases. Showcases coming. You got a couple of showcases coming up, if I'm not mistaken. I'm really looking forward to the one you invite me out to. I love it. I get to understand the youth today. You're doing a marvelous job. What else? Is there anything coming up over the summer?
Yeah, we're actually hosting a combine. I talked earlier in our session here about testing, right? And I think one of the challenges is sometimes we test athletes, but it goes nowhere. It's like, hey, you're really strong. You're not so strong here, but we just kind of leave the player to their own vices. So we've created a forum. We're hosting a combine on Tuesday, July the 19th. If anybody's interested, there are a couple spots left. Go to ntchockey.com and all the information is there. You can register and grab your spot. But we're going to do the NHL and the OHL style combine on the ice. All of your skill, agility, skating, with puck, without puck, backwards, forwards, and then in here in the gym, we're going to do all of the training tools, everything from Wingate testing to explosive power, and really get granular. Right? We want to know: are you more powerful on your left leg than your right leg? What's your vertical? And then we rate all the players based on a pro level, so players can see where it is that they're going, how much room they need to grow, or how much real estate they need to cover. And then we build programs for the athletes. We give every player the opportunity to lean into NTC's skills where we're now building. So whether you're a player that's training with us or you're training somewhere else outside of the city or even outside of the country, when you do the combine, we are going to be we'll call it your GPS or your Google Maps. It's going to help you get from here to where it is that you say you want to go. Then you're going to be holding these combines on a regular basis. So you come back every 3 to 4 months. These athletes need to retest. Come back in, test, see where you are, where you've improved, where you didn't improve. You didn't work as hard as you thought you should have. And we'll literally slowly start to raise the bar. So listen. I want every player to have a successful season. I want your teams to be successful. And I want you to be successful. I want you to do what you have to do so that between September and December, you're growing as an athlete and a person. Between December and February or March, you're growing as a person. And that sets you up for the off season. And then we build through the offseason. So there's this continuum of test, reassess, reevaluate, taking data on a regular basis, building individualized programming, and letting the player go back to work, but do the smart work versus just hard work, hoping that it's going to get you where you want to get you.
Listen, send me over the information, please. I will put it up on the show if you have a little bit of a logo please do that. Dan Blackburn, can't thank you enough. What you've just talked about is not only for hockey players, it's for life, the life skills. You should be doing that even if you're a business person or you're just going to work, doing that regimen, taking assessment of who you are, take inventory, and build towards a better place is all we could ask for, and you do it better than anybody. Thank you, Dan. I'm pumped already.
Booyah to everybody.
What's coming out next?
To all the hockey players out there, keep doing the work. you got to believe in you first. When you believe in you as much as you want others to believe in you, success comes to find you.
They're a Hockey
I'm a phenomenal
Canada.
one.
Unbelievable. Booyah.
Last time I spoke
Dan
to
Blackburn,
Yeah,
ntchockey.com. I'll be posting it up on the site. Obviously, today's free
Yeah,
agency.
I haven't
There's a
spoken to
lot
him.
going on. It's a lot of noise. But tonight, this will
I
be
gotta
posted
go.
up. And I'm particularly looking at how do we prepare you as a
Dan
parent,
Blackburn, I know
you
him
as
from,
a coach, trainer,
I don't
from
even know
Dan's
how I
example,
felt
how to
with
get
him.
your player, regardless of where they're going, getting them ready
Get him on the
over
program.
the summer so that
I
they
like
can
him.
have
He's got
a start into
good
their
work.
new season
got his
on
own
the
kind of
top. Because
stick.
obviously this pandemic's done a
but
lot to us.
I did
But I'll
see
tell you
his,
what, people like
he was
Dan
asked
will bring
out
us out of it. And can't
originally
thank you
through
enough
his,
for taking a few minutes with Gooch Live right here at
showcase.
the bottom
That's
line.
how I think I met him many, many years ago.